We are live for another MLS rumors update. A lot going on, a lot of stuff starting to pop up. Some big names being linked with MLS. Hope you guys enjoy these because this is pretty exciting, especially since the transfer window is starting to pick up. Rumors are starting to come out. Big names being linked with MLS. I think we're in store for a very exciting MLS offseason. Now, camp starts next week, which is kind of crazy to think about, but there's still going to be several moves, even up until probably March. Teams constantly trying to improve and make their roster better. Also, guys, we're going to be joined by Fabian Rankel, a good friend of the show, good friend of mine personally. He's going to join us and talk about some of these moves. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions you want about your team, about a certain move when we talk about it. And I appreciate the support. And if you haven't already, like the show down below. Let's try to get to 100 likes on this live stream. We got to 100 last time. I think we can get to 100 this time. Share with a friend. Like I said, if you have any comments, fire away. I'll go ahead and read a couple comments, and then we'll jump into the Kevin De Bruyne to San Diego news, because I think that one is definitely the biggest news I think that's came out in the last couple of days. Michael says Griezmann to LAFC is the dream. We will be talking about Griezmann here in a minute. That is definitely some news I want to touch on. Mr. says, hi, Will. Mr. Appreciate you for stopping by. Always glad to see you stop by, my friend. Runts with Wolves says, let's effing go. I appreciate the support, man. Roka says, I got to watch 2 lives at the same time. That's crazy. Rave Green TV on live right now, too. Yeah, I was going to go on a show, but I had some stuff to do, so I wasn't able to make his stream as well. But also, hey, if you like his show, make sure you like it, the video he's doing or the live stream, and subscribe to Rave Green TV's channel. Ryan says, any news on a potential Whitecap sale? I'll hit that one later. I haven't heard anything directly, but I would expect something to probably happen sometime in June. They got to hire a coach first, honestly. Pesky Bird, a member of the channel, which I greatly appreciate. And if you guys haven't become a member of the channel, there's a link in the description below. It helps us out with the channel, helps support us, make this dream a reality, giving you guys great MLS content. There's some perks with being a member of the channel. We can play some FIFA. I'm going to eventually do some private videos. There's private Q&As. So make sure you become a member of the channel if you haven't already. Michael says, Tottenham won, so today's a good day for me, and now I get to watch this even better. I appreciate the support. 24 watching, 14 likes. Let's get some more. Yep, let's get some more. Let's try to hit 100 before the stream is over. Bray says, what do you think about all the moves with Dallas? We will talk about Dallas in detail because they're having a fire sale. They have a new coach. There's a lot going on with Dallas. I'm kind of curious to see what the long-term vision is for the club, especially because they went so heavy in buying big-name players last year. They went and bought Peter Musa, who they spent a club record fee for, which we'll look at that in a second, and he might be on the move too. So I really don't know what the vision is and what they're doing. Jonathan says, anything on the Japanese striker from Celtic for Atlanta? We will talk about that too, because there's been a leak about the signing, and I definitely will address that because that piqued my interest, and we will talk about that. More quality players are leaving MLS than coming in. Underwhelming. It's still very early. It's only January 8th. There's plenty of time to add some more players to the league. And I think that there's, like I said earlier in the stream, there's going to be a busy rest of this month, February, and March. Jose says, do you think New York City FC sells Santi, then they can get De Bruyne? I don't think that they will get De Bruyne because New York City FC has not signed a single player that was a key contributor for Manchester City in the 10 years that they've been in Major League Soccer. So I don't expect that to change right now. And I don't think that they want to play in a baseball stadium. I think that is a huge factor of why some of these people or players don't want to play for New York City FC, is because they don't want to play at Yankee Stadium. They don't want to play at Citi Field. LAFC is dropping so many players. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, let's get to this news about Kevin De Bruyne, because I think it's important. So yesterday, The Athletic put out a report saying that Kevin De Bruyne had interest. There was a mutual interest between him and San Diego FC, and they were trying to get it worked out to where he could make the move to Major League Soccer and San Diego FC. But there were a couple hiccups, some things that need to be worked out in order for it to happen. Now, this would be a huge signing. Kevin De Bruyne has been a player that's been linked to Major League Soccer for a couple years now. Not to say he was going to come to Major League Soccer a couple years back, but a guy that has put it out there that he wants to come to Major League Soccer. He wants to play in America. He wants to live in America for him and his family. And I think one of the teams that he was really infatuated with was the Los Angeles Galaxy. And I think there's even a clip back in 2017 or 2018 of him saying when he does make the move to Major League Soccer, he would like to come to the LA Galaxy. Well, the LA Galaxy don't have a designated player spot open, which each team is allotted 3. And they signed Marco Royce, which they're not really comparable at this point, but they signed a guy on a bargain deal for a TAM on a TAM contract, which means he can't make more than like 1.6, 1.7 million a year. There is no way that Kevin De Bruyne would sign a deal like that. Kevin De Bruyne is going to cash out. He's going to make big money wherever he ends up signing. Now, there's obviously some competition with a couple teams in Saudi Arabia, but I don't think he wants to go to Saudi Arabia because if he did, he would have won already. He's not really. I'm not going to say money is a non-issue to Kevin De Bruyne, but I think coming to America and living in America, playing in America is very enticing to him. And I think that is why he's kind of waiting and seeing what his options are. Now he'll be a free agent in 2025, so that's nice. They won't have to pay they won't have to pay a transfer fee for him. San Diego FC wouldn't, and this would just be this would be class. This is really going to turn the temperature up in the California rivalries between the Galaxy, LAFC, San Diego FC coming in, and I think that Kevin De Bruyne still, even though he gets injured quite a bit at this point in his career, he's still a very, very good player. He's very good for Major League Soccer, of course. Any team in the league would take him at this point, right? I think that this would be a home run signing, and I want to know what you guys think. If Kevin De Bruyne comes to Major League Soccer and signs with San Diego FC, how would you consider that signing? Would that be a home run? Would that just be okay? How would you guys qualify that signing? Let's see. Let's add this poll real quick. Okay. All right. Would Kevin De Bruyne, I'm going to put his KBD, be a home run signing for San Diego FC? I think it would be, well, you know how I feel about it. I think it would be a huge, huge signing for them. And he's 34 years old. He'll be 34 years old in 2025. He's still got plenty left, I think, to give. I mean, when you have a player of his quality, normally they're able to play for a long time. They don't just, fizzle out early 30s or mid 30s. I think he could probably play at a top level, at least in Major League Soccer, for another 3 or 4 years. So that's why I think you have to have that type. You have to make this move if you can, especially pairing him up with Chucky Lozano. Now, the Chucky Lozano signing was more of like a regional thing to try to get more of the Mexican American fans in the San Diego area, maybe even Tijuana because it's right across the border. Some of those people interested in San Diego FC and have a tie to it, and then adding De Bruyne would just be. It would check another box. It's getting the quality of player. Like any team in the league, hell, any team in the world would probably still want Kevin De Bruyne at this point in his career. At least that's what I would say that they would. So let's see. Any chance Guillermo Ochoa coming to MLS? I don't think Ochoa is coming to Major League Soccer if he hasn't came yet. He'll be 40 years old this year. He came back to Club America. He left. I don't even know where he's playing. I think he's back in Europe at this point. I'd have to go back and check, but I think that window of opportunity has passed. I don't think Ochoa is coming here. I would have liked to seen him with San Diego FC, but I think that those days those days have passed. I don't think that's going to happen. It's kind of like the Ronaldo situation. Like I think that the window of opportunity has came and passed. And Ochoa, while goalkeepers obviously can play at a high level later into their career, I just don't see that happening at this point. So no, I don't think that will happen. Ron says we need a lucky redhead. Hey, I mean, it does help a little bit, right? His hair's a little darker or lighter, not darker, but it's a little different shade of red than mine is. But yes, I guess it does help a little bit. Let's see. I think that he might go to Inter Miami. Now that has been out there that he might be interested in going to Inter Miami. The problem is I think that Inter Miami is all in on a certain number or a certain winger to reconnect MSN. So that's why I don't think that they're going to sign him because we'll go ahead and talk about Neymar. Neymar to Miami, KBD to San Diego, MLS is going to be fun. Yes, I think Neymar is more likely to go to Miami, MSN reuniting Messi, Suarez, and Neymar because Suarez obviously is getting up there in age. He is going to be 37 this year, or actually he'll be 38 this year, which is crazy. 38 years old this year. We know that he is playing through some injuries, playing through some difficult knees. Even though he's been performing well, he is playing through some injuries. Luis Suarez is. It's difficult. He's sitting barely walk. So I don't even know if he'll play more than one more season. So the only way to get MSN on the pitch one more time is if they sign Neymar this year. Now, Neymar has been rumored to leave. There's been several clubs that have been interested in him. There's been talk about him going back to Santos in Brazil, his childhood club. And those rumors have kind of gotten shot down. And then recently he's told, I don't remember if he had told Fabrizio, but Fabrizio had tweeted a quote about Neymar saying he would like to see MSN happen one more time. And this is the only way it's going to happen. Now, Jorge Mas, the owner of Inter Miami, has said several times money is no issue for him. He's willing to spend whatever it takes to build a world-class team. And I think that he'd be willing to spend what it would take to get Neymar. Now, the question is, what would it take to get someone like Neymar? He's making what are they even paying him in Saudi Arabia? We'll see if it has on the wiki page. I want to say I don't know if they're paying him nearly as much as what they're paying Ronaldo. Okay, so he's making 150 million euros a year. So they're not paying as much as Ronaldo, but they're still paying him crazy, crazy money, right? 150 million euros is insane. So he's going to have to take a huge pay cut to come to Major League Soccer, but he gets to reunite with his friends. He's probably made enough money. He gets to live in Miami. I mean, there's a lot of pros on why he would come to Miami, and I think that is very feasible and could happen. Neymar to Inter Miami. Now, the question is it going to happen this winter? Is it going to happen this summer? It's going to happen next year. Several people have told me that Neymar will be an Inter Miami player. It's a matter of when, not if. When does he come? When does he make the move to Miami in South Florida? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Did Inter Miami keep? I'm assuming you meant Drake Callender. So Drake Callender is still on the team right now, but I think that they are trying to. They're trying to upgrade. They're looking at a couple different Argentine goalkeepers to replace him with. Guys, we're at 28 likes. Can we get to 50 likes? We got 60 people in the chat right now, 60 people live viewers. Can we get to 50 likes? Like this down below if you haven't already. Favi is coming to join us soon. The invite has been sent out. He'll probably join us in the next probably 5 to 10 minutes, which will be interesting to see what he thinks about that. Cringe says, gents, let's get Will some likes. Yes, let's get some likes. Let's hit 50. Let's try to hit 100 before the stream ends. I know we can do it. We hit like 113 last stream. Very, very good stream. That's why we're doing this again tonight. And I really appreciate it. Let's see. KBD would be a huge for MLS. I agree. Drizzy will be the truth. They love him so he must support him no matter what. Drizzy will be the truth. I'm all in now. Who are you talking about? Who are you referring to as Drizzy? Talking about Drake? You talking about Drake Callender? Matthew Garcia. What's going on at LAFC? Okay, let's talk about LAFC. So LAFC recently sold Omar Campos. They are not going to re-sign. They're not going to re-sign, or it looks like they're not going to bring Lewis O'Brien back on loan. And I thought Lewis O'Brien was their best player down the stretch in 2024. I thought Lewis O'Brien was very, very good. I don't think Kai Kamara is coming back. Who was the center back? Murillo went to Liga MX. So this is a team that is Ilie Sanchez, another one. Ilie Sanchez obviously is, I would say borderline club legend just because of him winning the first MLS Cup with them and, being so important in their success the last 3 years. I think that they are doing a soft rebuild. Now they do a rebuild each year just because they can't keep everybody. They have to get rid of guys, bring new guys in, but they're doing a pretty hefty rebuild right now. LAFC is. And I know that they want Griezmann, which we'll talk about that in a second, but they're going to have to add some pieces if they really want to return to the MLS Cup final and they want to dethrone the LA Galaxy, their crosstown rival. Now, they did sign Jeremy Ebobisse, who has been so-and-so in his MLS career. He had one good season with San Jose. He was inconsistent with the Portland Timbers, but he's not a bad player. He's a good depth piece. He's a good replacement for for Kai Kamara. Now, someone said on Twitter that they thought Jeremy Ebobisse was going to replace Olivier Giroud as a starter at some point in the season. That is just nonsense. That's not going to happen. Olivier Giroud has 3 years left on his deal. He's making like $5 or $6 million a year. There is no way that Jeremy Ebobisse is going to replace Olivier Giroud as the starting striker for LAFC. That is not happening. That is not happening. And we got Favi here. We'll go ahead and bring him in. Favi and Rankel, you son of a gun. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry for being a little late.
No, you're good. You're good. We're talking about LAFC. We hit a couple different points. We talked about Kevin De Bruyne going to San Diego FC. We talked about Neymar in Miami. Now, one of the questions someone asked is, what about LAFC? Like, what are they doing this offseason? We talked about the people that have left, and we just talked about the only move that they've made so far is they signed Jeremy Ebobisse, who you're very familiar with. But, I mean, that's underwhelming so far, honestly.
No, 100%. And this team is really just waiting for Antoine Griezmann, right? Like, we need to find out what happens with Griezmann for LAFC's next move. And I hate to say it, it might look a little bleak for LAFC fans right now and this year, but this might be it. I mean, for right now, because they're getting ready for this window that Griezmann is possibly going to come over. And then who knows? I mean, MLS is such a long season. You get in, let's say LAFC gets in on the 5th place in the playoffs, and then you have Griezmann and everybody already for the playoffs. So I think this is going to be the worst transfer window for LAFC in a long time. And I think if you're an LAFC fan, I think a lot of fans are already kind of understanding that. I know, shout out to my boy Juan Vargas. He's really funny on Twitter, but he knows already that this is a very bad offseason for LAFC. And you might see some little guys that come in to retool, but you're not going to see a big swing until you find out what happens with Griezmann.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of LAFC fans are upset about, is that they feel like every single year that comes up, they're always told, wait until the summer, wait until the summer, wait until the summer. And they don't ever actually do anything in the summer like what they're expecting. They've had a DP spot open in the summertime like the last 3 summers, Favi. We heard in 2023 they were going to try to go for Chucky Lozano. They didn't do that. Right. Or last summer they were going to go for Antoine Griezmann. They did try, but they weren't able to do it. So this year it feels like they're doing the same thing. And if they don't sign Griezmann, I think they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, look, Griezmann is a big signing, though. Like, Griezmann, I would say, is probably top 5 transfers in the world if you can land this. Neymar is up there. Messi's not moving. Ronaldo's another one that would be up there. But I think if you land Griezmann, he's in that upper echelon of players. And unfortunately, just how Miami was in limbo with Messi for 2 years or 1 year, you're going to see this LAFC team that will still have talent. I mean, still have talent. Like, you have Bouanga, you have Giroud, right? You have Lloris. You have, I mean, if Kiko Oliveira is staying, you're going to have Oliveira, right? You're going to have guys, Bogusz, right? If he stays, you're going to have guys who could still play in this league. And just like the Galaxy showed, without Ricky Puig, they could still win games. So maybe you're not at the level that you want to be to compete with Miami, but who knows, when Griezmann comes into play, you might see Miami in a final, and man, oh man, is that going to hit when you have Griezmann versus Messi in a final?
I mean, I think it'll be nice, but they have to be able to sign him in order for the plan to come to fruition. And even with Griezmann, there's still some things they need to do and get worked out on this team. They have a lot of flexibility with some of the players that they've let go. That's freed up a lot of cap space. A lot of money has been freed up to sign other players. And I think that there was a miscommunication. You know, sometimes when a report comes overseas, they get the clubs mixed up, especially if they're playing in the same city. There was a report that Igor Jesus was going to be a player of the LA Galaxy, but it turns out he's actually going to be a player of LAFC, which is an interesting signing for them, but that's still not quite as good as you would like or big as you would want for a team like LAFC. I mean, we're talking about a team that has dominated the league at least the last 3 or 4 years.
Hey, look, when you get a chance to sign Evander's evil twin brother, you do it, all right?
Is that what he looks like?
He looks exactly like Evander.
I'm about to pull him up now.
I thought how that was hilarious. How much alike he looks, like a cousin or something. But no, he looks exactly like Evander.
Man, he does. Wow, this is crazy. Let's see if I can pull this up.
So if you can't get Evander, you might as well go get Evander's evil twin brother.
Yeah. Now, which one's better?
Right.
The question. No, I think Evander's definitely better. Um, yeah, I think that this would be an interesting signing. It's still just not enough, man. It's still not enough. And now let's move on to Dallas because I think actually I got to read this comment. This is a member of the channel, which I really appreciate. Humberto, he says, letting go a well-fundamented young left fullback in Omar Campos, Ilie Sanchez, who played each game with everything he had, only shows this club is being run by amateurs.
Well, Omar
Uh,
Campos, you made money. I mean, you bought him for what, 2 million and you can flip him in a year for 4? I mean, I always thought that was kind of an odd transfer in. But they went ahead and they got money for him. And outside back is actually something that LAFC has always been really good at. So it is interesting to see, but you made some money off of this transfer, that's for sure.
Well, so they paid 4.6 million euros for him last year, so they might have actually took a hit on it. I think they might have actually lost some money on him. But
And if it comes out, if they get similar money or if they get a little less, I still think it's a win because I thought he wasn't that good of a player for LAFC. You can get talent in MLS that gives you kind of that same, maybe that same type of production for a lot cheaper, or you can get an academy guy, right? So outside back is probably a part of a roster where you can fill in with some back end guys and you'll be fine. Or again, you're LA. You don't need these type of players. You're gonna maybe get a left back to come in. Let's put a tinfoil hat on. There's a guy who's looking for a club that's a left back. His name is Marcelo. So it's something where you're LA. So getting Omar Campos out for almost the same money when he didn't really do anything, I think that's a win.
oh man, Marcelo is very good. Obviously, arguably the best left back in football history. But I mean, he's 37 years old. I mean, I don't know if that's the route they need to go per se.
Well,
But
you
yeah, I
bring in
agree with you. They'll
Marcelo
have options.
Academy, you find an MLS guy, right? Like there's guys. I mean, you want me to bring my San Jose Paul Marie right now? From San Jose, that guy's still available, so you could still find outside backs in this league.
No, for sure. Now let's move over to Dallas, man, because Dallas has been having a fire sale. Okay, and I know you just came from Cheyenne's stream over on Raid Green TV, and it seems like the Dallas and Seattle have been having a lot of relations lately with these deals. Now, one of them is not official, but one of them was made official today, and that was Jesus Ferreira. Jesus Ferreira was traded to Seattle for pretty much, I think it was a very handsome compensation, very hefty compensation, I should say.
Hmm.
And that move is still a little weird to me. I got a video dropping tomorrow actually with Nico Moreno talking about that with Seattle. I'll be dropping tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. But they traded away Jesus Ferreira. They look like they're trading Paul Arriola. It looks like I can't remember the Spanish international player that they had. They look like they're moving off of him. Maybe he's a free agent.
Elamendi.
Elamendi, yes. Alan Velasco is reportedly going to Boca Juniors.
Yeah, well, that's so. I saw another report saying that that's a bidding war now. So 2 teams are going after it, and he's one of the most sought after Argentinians playing in MLS. He is beloved in Argentina because when Messi played FC Dallas in the Leagues Cup, where it was that crazy game, remember, Will, that was 4-3. All of Argentina found out very quickly who Alan Velasco was, and he got some call-ups. So that's a player on the list of every Argentinian club. So I don't know, strike. I mean, he's coming off of an MCL or ACL tear, so you might as well strike while it's hot. I mean, $11 million is the last figure I heard. Personally, if you get 20 million for Peter Musa and 11 million for Velasco, you're looking like one of the best-selling clubs in MLS history. So I think you need to sell these guys, and you need to just keep making a brand new slate for this new coach coming in, and basically give them a fresh slate. Obviously, it's Dallas. You're going to pocket some of the money, right? But then you're going to have a lot of GAM. You're going to have 3 million and then another 3 million. So you're going to be sitting in GAM to get a whole bunch of guys in. But yeah, I don't know. I think you can basically see what talent you have, use this year to recoup, it might be a bleak season, but in my opinion, I think you sell.
Yeah, but there's gotta be a good balance. So I mean, you can't just sell everybody and not replace anybody, right? I mean, you're gonna sell all your DPs and not replace a single one. Peter Musa, they paid 12 million for last year, and the Moose was very good for them, I think, especially when he found his stride down the end of the season. But I mean, I don't think they're selling him for any less than I think they're asking 18 million euros for Peter Musa, the former
Which is
Benfica
fair.
striker.
Which is
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, he scored 16 goals for Dallas last year. I think he had a good season. And he's shown a little bit. Now, look, nobody is saying that MLS is the same level as the Portuguese league, but he showed that when he gets minutes consistently, he's a productive goal scorer. He scored 16 goals. He's only 26. He'll be 27 in March. So if somebody in the Premier League or La Liga, one of those two leagues, are offering 18 million euros for him, I mean, you have to sell him, but you also have to replace him.
Yeah, look, if these transfers happened a little earlier in the offseason, that would have been a lot nicer because maybe they could have been in play for guys like Jeremy Ebobisse, right? Or maybe they don't trade Ferreira away, right? So, but Ferreira, to be honest, didn't want to be there, and it was obvious. And like you said, they got a pretty handsome compensation for it. Maybe there was a time where Ferreira should have got more, but if you get Areola off your books, you get Velasco off your books. I mean, this is a team where your most famous player anyway is Martin Paz. So,
Hey, people, they were trying to sell him too.
Yeah, so we're looking at a selling club. And I think Dallas should be taking the Montreal approach personally, where you're just buying up all the really good U21s or U22s and basically letting them thrive in a system where they can develop. So I think you have to sell Peter Musa. Maybe you can find another Peter Musa and then just keep churning guys and making DP money and 3 million a game.
That would be a good method. Guys, we have 73 people watching us live right now. We appreciate the support. Let's try to get to 100 likes. We're almost at 50. So if you haven't liked the show down below, help us out. Let's get to 100 likes before the show ends. Also, like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you're a member of the channel. It helps us out. It helps us create content. There are some special perks, like anytime you read or have a question or you're in the chat, I will always read what you say, especially if you're a member of the channel. Play FIFA with me so you can embarrass me, because apparently I'm completely washed and not good at FIFA or FC anymore. I every time I play someone, I absolutely get embarrassed, which is crazy. I used to be somewhat decent, but I guess those days are long behind me. Comes with age. So make sure you become a member of the channel if you haven't already. Like the show down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Next week is training camp, which means that we're getting closer and closer to the season. We'll be almost we're about 6 weeks away, five and a half, 6 weeks away until the MLS season starts. And then we're gonna have a prediction video next week. Things are really starting to ramp up in Major League Soccer world.
Tomorrow is MLS Media Day. So tomorrow you're gonna
really already?
Yeah, you're gonna see quotes of Luis Suarez, Javier Mascherano, Benteke. So tomorrow is the day that if you're on Twitter, you want to be on Twitter all day, because it's gonna be a lot of good quotes in there. So interesting stuff. And then already Miami's going to play their first game in Vegas on the 18th. So it's interesting to see. It's happening right away.
Okay, so there's a couple things I want to hit on before. I probably have about 15 more minutes. I'd say 20 max. Mr. Mister says, I'm a bit surprised some MLS clubs haven't looked at Manchester United. They're trying to move off of a few. Yeah, and the Marcus Rashford rumors seem to have not really... Those were kind of, I don't want to say they were fake news, but there's not a lot of legs to it. After talking to Nico Moreno yesterday, which like I said, will be out tomorrow. He said there's not really anything to that, but there are some teams that I think, was it Casemiro? I think, but Saudi Arabia is wanting to sign him. I don't know if he would come to Major League Soccer, but yes, there's some players on Manchester United I think you could definitely get a good deal on, and more teams need to try to, capitalize on that. Get some good players to come over here in MLS, maybe even at a decent age.
Yeah, look, Man United's a tough one because those players are world superstars, right? And you're going to be competing with Saudi Arabia. It's going to be tough to entice a guy to come over, but it's funny that Marcus Rashford is in the MLS news, because remember that one FIFA, talking about FIFA, remember that one FIFA where you had to do the journey? And you had to come over to the MLS and play for the Galaxy. So it's interesting that maybe we see something like that happen in real life. But yeah, I mean, De Bruyne is one that's kind of picking up steam, right? So that one's interesting. Rashford could be interesting too. Almiron going to Charlotte is picking up. So little things here and there are making this league interesting. But yeah, I don't see Casemiro, unfortunately, coming to MLS because I think that's a guy that Saudi's going to want right away. I mean, Fabinho went to freaking Saudi Arabia, right? So Casemiro is levels in terms of worldwide name over Fabinho, right? So again, we still have to compete with Saudi guys. Don't forget that.
Yes, to a certain degree, we definitely do. Now, one thing I want to hit on real quick: Montreal just traded for Jalen Neal, which I thought was a very
Great trade.
surprising. I thought that was a surprising move on the Galaxy's part,
Yeah,
getting rid of him at this point because Jalen Neal, I think, is only like 20 years old. Okay,
21.
21
Yeah,
years old, still relatively young. Very a lot of upside. 6'3" center back. Got hurt at the beginning of the season. Had his spot kind of, I don't want to say taken away, but they were just playing so well that they didn't really have to. They didn't need him in 2024. I mean, they won MLS Cup without him for the most part. And then Cáceres, I think, is the young Colombian international center back that they have, played very well. Yoshida looks like he is going to be off, but they're signing a Danish international center back. So it looks like he'll be slotted into one of those starting center back roles. So there really wasn't a spot for Jalen Neal to start. And they offered a pretty decent fee. I want to say it was like what, 600K
yeah,
in GAM for him.
up to like 800K. So
800K, yeah.
yeah,
And an international spot too, right?
yeah, so yeah, well, so 650 plus an international spot. So if you, I think, yeah, and a sell on. So that's important too. So especially on a guy like Jalen Neal. And I think this smells a lot like Walker Zimmerman trade to Nashville. I think this is because we're LA, it's going to be hard for us to retain a very good domestic center back and pay him what he deserves. So before he gets his big contract, let's retain a sell on. Let's get as much GAM and international roster spot as we can. So they probably wanted to keep him, but since you're the LA Galaxy, you can let him go and you might get another Yoshida. And I hate to say it, they got Yoshida and Royce just landed on their lap because they are LA. It might happen again. So where you find Jalen Neal minutes? And yes, he's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a superstar in this league and possibly go to Europe. But unfortunately, the Galaxy don't have the playing time for him.
They don't. And when you become a bigger club or a more successful club, you have to make tough decisions on players and what they can give to you and contribute. And this is another move by Will Kuntz that some people might be upset with, but maybe there's something else lined up, like we said, the Danish center back, or how people were upset when Brugman they said they weren't going to pick up his option and that he was going to,
Right.
that they were moving off of him, and they're like, man, how could you get rid of the MVP of the MLS Cup final? And then it turns out they have this other Uruguayan midfielder who they're competing with Benfica to sign. So even when it seems like something he does doesn't make sense, they normally have something else lined up.
Yeah, and look, Will Kuntz has experience winning a trophy and then managing the roster next year. And I remember the year that LAFC won, it was something that Will Kuntz said all the time is the MLS really, really doesn't have it set up so where the champion can retain all the talent they want because everybody gets a pay increase. So you have to, let some heads roll, right? And unfortunately, Jalen Neal got an offer that was pretty enticing. 750K GAM is nothing to like scoff at. That is a good number for a defender and at a 21 years old, right? So, and an international slot, something that LA is gonna need. So again, in my opinion, that's like a 200 or 150 to a 200K in that international slot. So you have 850K plus a sell on. I think it's a win-win personally.
I do too, and they gave him a U22 spot. They're using a U22 spot on Jalen Neal, so he's going to get a nice pay raise. Ideally,
Right.
he'll
And
be
he
able to
probably
play.
wanted that.
He probably did. And I think that maybe that's um, something that made it that caused a disconnect with him and the Galaxy. Maybe he was wanting a little bit, not just more playing time, but more money,
Right.
and that
'Cause
was kind
he's
of the
a
deal breaker.
he's a fringe USMNT player, so in many eyes of the players, they deserve that U22, like almost if that U22 spot is for them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what the Galaxy do with Dejan Joveljic, because I think that his status as a U22 player runs out this year. So they're going to have to figure out if they want to extend him as a TAM player, if he would even take that, or sell him. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens as far as Dejan Joveljic. I'm trying to think of what else we were going to talk. Oh, we got to talk about Brandon Vasquez. Brandon Vasquez was recently sold for $10 million, man. 10 million. Now, last week when we were in the chat, there was rumors about him. Where would he go? Would he go to San Jose? Would he go to San Diego? Would he go to? I think Austin had popped up at that time,
Yeah.
but he is an Austin FC player, and they spent $10 million on Brandon Vasquez.
It's weird because he was going to get terminated, then he wasn't going to get terminated, and then they brought him in. They brought all the fans out. They made it look like this big thing. Roto came out and said MLS is the league of choice. MLS is bringing back international talent, and it gave me shades of MLS 1.0. And to be honest, this kind of looks like an MLS 1.0 move, especially at the price tag of 10 million. But if you're an Austin fan, you're ecstatic. Living with Danny Husen, Yassi Zardes, and now Brandon Vasquez, you are having a very, very good time.
I'm glad. I don't know if you hear that applause, but I'm applauding you because I'm glad that you're saying this. We're in agreement. MLS 1.0 move, man. 100%.
But you don't see it because you have green colored glasses on in Austin and you're just excited for a real striker. But if they keep Driussi, I like this team. It is an overpay, but if they keep Driussi, I think this team could have a chance of sneaking in the playoffs.
Well, I want you to try to give me your opinion on this or explain this to me. How is it that Brandon Vasquez goes to Monterrey for roughly, I think it was like $7.5 million, because it was like 6.8 million euros, something like that. It's about $7.2 million. Doesn't really tear it up. Honestly, kind of disappoints at Monterrey. I don't think
has some big goals though in big moments,
but not consistent enough, right? Not consistent enough. They obviously want to get rid of him. They're not like clinging on to him saying we have to keep Brandon Vasquez. So he has a disappointing, not total failure, but a disappointing stint with Monterrey, right?
Right.
And somehow sells for more than what he sold for with Cincinnati. And one of the things about Brandon Vasquez that I've been arguing on Twitter, which that's my own fault for arguing with people on Twitter and X, because there's a lot of trolls on there. But, he had one good season with Cincinnati. He had 18 goals. And I'm talking about in regular season matches. I'm not talking about US Open Cup or what other competitions they're playing. I'm talking about in MLS regular season matches. He had 18 goals, double-digit goals, one time in his MLS career. Now, for $10 million, you should probably be getting someone either with crazy high upside or someone who's been consistent at scoring goals. Paying $10 million for a guy who's going to be 27 years old this year, has scored double-digit goals one time in his MLS regular season in his career. I mean, that is a wholly overpay, man. That is a wholly overpay, in my opinion. And I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to ask the chat if they think that Austin FC overpaid for Brandon Vasquez.
I'll start with this. Jonathan Rodriguez, Cabecita Rodriguez, was a player that was very, very well known in the CONCACAF region. It was a player that would light up Liga MX and was the max goleador, or had the golden boot for Mexico for many years. Went to Portland for like $4 million. So put that in perspective. This is Monterrey, a team that knows what they have and sees a desperate MLS club looking to fill a void of their fan base wanting a player of his stature. And honestly, 10 million is an overpay. Yes, there's been worse overpays in MLS, but man, oh man, is this an overpay? Like looking at this now, would you rather have had Jesus Ferreira and Austin Green for 2.5 million GAM? Would you have rather had Alan Pulido, like I was texting you yesterday, for 1.5 million? That's 1/10 of this transfer. But who knows? This is nice for Austin fans because this is the second time they've really splashed the cash. Excuse me. This is like the first time I've seen them really use their bargaining power to get a guy, and they overpaid. But it's going to be a nice feeling, and if they keep the UC, it's going to be a nice season for them.
Well, so I wanted to look this up. So the Seattle Sounders bought Raul Ruidiaz when he was 28 years old. He was 1 year older than Brandon Vasquez. And he had 2 seasons in Liga MX, which people debatably, think is a better league than MLS.
Definitely back then it was.
It was definitely back then.
Yeah.
It was definitely when he played there, it was. He scored 20 goals 2 seasons in a row, and this is not in all competitions. Well, it was, but he scored these in Liga MX matches. 20 goals back-to-back seasons. They only paid $7 million for Raul Ruidiaz, but Austin FC is paying $10 million for a guy who scored I don't even know if he scored 10 goals. I think he might have scored 10 goals in both seasons, but yeah, so Brandon Vasquez has only scored 10 goals in 40 appearances. 40 appearances. So we're talking about he's scoring 1 goal every 4 games. Raul Ruidiaz was scoring a goal every other game, more so than every other game. So I just think this is more of a desperation move. And some people are like, well, you want MLS to spend, but you don't want to spend on. Yes, I want the league to spend, but I want them to spend strategically. I want them to be smart about how they spend. I don't want them to purchase a guy who's not scoring in Liga MX. We just talked about how it's not as good as it used to be at Liga MX. I think the league has taken a step backwards. And we're buying a guy who's only scoring 10 goals in 40 matches.
Well, look at Jonathan Rodriguez, right? That's a little more apples to apples because Liga MX was a different place back when Ruidiaz was there. Because I mean, Morelia is not even around anymore, right? Rest in peace to Morelia, the team of Michoacan. No, but really, I say that because everybody from my area is from Michoacan. But basically, Jonathan Rodriguez was a killer in Liga MX for 4 seasons. And he goes to a club that's not desperate, and he goes for a fair wage, 4 million euros. So it's something that is interesting to see. But of course, dude, it's the USMNT tax. It's the brand new club tax. It's everything that Monterrey is taking advantage of. Monterrey is smart. They're a top dog. There was talks about termination. There was non-talks about termination, and then they're like, wait, why would we terminate a contract that we can get $10 million from? So it's something where they won. They got what they wanted, but I think Austin fans are going to get what they want too. So it is interesting.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, my God, if you could get 10 million out of that, then you're definitely going to try to sell Brandon Vasquez if you can get the. Let's see. David A says, how much did RSL pay for Chicho Arango? I want to say they paid like $5 million for him. I could be wrong about that.
Look at Jonathan Rodriguez there. Cruz Azul, 3 seasons, 44 goals in 95 appearances. So almost 1 goal every 2 games. So, I mean, yes, he's a little older and he's not American, but he came at 30. Yeah, 3 years older. But at 27, you're not going to sell him. This is the guy that's going to be Austin's face.
So, okay. So Chicho Arango was sold for 5.5 million euros from LAFC to Pachuca, and then they paid a little bit more, like 80K more euros for him in the next year, or not even next year, like 4 months later for Chicho Arango. Chicho Arango did score 5 goals in 11 matches, though. So, I mean, he was scoring a goal every other game. I think there was a weird situation with that. But even so, even if that's the case, Chicho Arango was a much more proven goal scorer in Major League Soccer than Brandon Vasquez was. I mean, he was integral in them winning their MLS Cup in 2022 against the Philadelphia Union. I mean, Chicho Arango scored 30 goals in 51 matches. I think Brandon Vasquez has scored, I want to say he scored like 32 goals in 112 matches. So he played in almost 70 or 60 more matches and only scored 2 more goals than Chicho Arango.
But the Chicho move did turn out to be a good one. I mean,
it did. It's a great move.
Players in the league,
yeah.
$4 or $5 million. So I think you're paying for an American tax. I really do think you're paying for the USMNT tax. Like this reminds me a lot of like the MLS 1.0 moves when the Sounders went to go get Dempsey. Of course, Dempsey's a way better player, but that's what it reminds me of. You're overpaying to bring American talent back to the United States. It's Roto's big move. It's Austin's big move. And I really hope they get to keep Driussi, because if they don't, man, they're going to have a Lamborghini in the middle of a fixer-upper.
Maybe so, maybe so. I just think with Chicharrongo, half the better goal, probably double the goal scoring production, half the cost, pretty much the same age. I think that's what makes the Brendan Vasquez. Like you said, it's
Well, Brandon Vasquez had Lucho Acosta with him too. So all those
exactly.
assists, like he's gonna need someone to supply assists for him, and it has to be Driussi, because looking at that roster, I mean, yeah, Bukhari, but I don't think he's there yet. So you have to find a way to get him the ball.
No, I agree completely. And you know what's crazy too is if Driussi ends up selling for less than what they paid for Brendan Vasquez, I mean that'd be crazy, right? To
Be
spend
insane.
that'd be crazy. That's like a trade for that's like a swap, you know. Just real quick, David Day asked how much does Pulisic make annually? It looks like he makes about 5 million euros a season, and his deal runs through 2027. He just signed a new deal. He used to make 4 million, and that is someone to watch next summer. I think in 2026, that is someone that definitely is on the table to come over to Major League Soccer. Guys, we got about probably 5 more minutes. If you have any last questions for me or Favi, fire away. Got a hard out about 9:55, 9:56 my time
I
Eastern.
saw someone ask if we were going to be at Chase Stadium. I'm not going to be at Chase Stadium for the international friendly, but I'll maybe be out there for playoffs, hopefully. But we'll be. I mean, me and Will got to meet up somewhere. So hopefully, Austin, Seattle, Nashville. We'll find a way.
Yeah, we will definitely. Yeah, me and Fabi have not met yet, which is we're gonna make that happen. Hopefully at a game in 2025 or maybe 2026. Who knows? We'll try to make it happen sooner than later. Toku says NYCFC news, please. The only thing that I've heard about New York City FC was obviously they hired their new coach and Pascal Janssen, and that Santi Rodriguez is potentially being sold. But I haven't heard any other news outside of that.
Yeah, in Uruguay, there hasn't been much about Santi, to be honest. So that rumor's kind of died down a little bit, but it could still happen. It just hasn't been on the burner like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yes, this is important. Yep. Sorry, Kevin. Appreciate you for mentioning that. There was a leak, and let me try to find it on Twitter real quick.
Yeah, I sent you a text. So if you haven't linked up to your iMessage, I thought that was a crazy leak.
Yes, that's thank you so much for I can't believe we didn't cover that sooner than what we did. Now, this is a player that has been rumored. I think they've been talking about this for a couple weeks about them pursuing the Celtic Japanese international striker. I think it's Kyogo Furuhashi.
Yep.
Yeah. Now this kind of looks they love their Celtic strikers, don't they? Georgios Giacomakis was also a Celtic striker, and it worked out pretty well for them. Now, this apparently leaked on MLSsoccer.com. Atlanta United acquired DP striker Kyogo Furuhashi from Celtic FC. But then when you click on the page, it says, I think this is what it says. It says, Meg, sorry, that page doesn't exist. We'll try to keep our feet together next time. So there had to have been some type of mistake leaking that earlier than they intended.
Yeah, there's no way they make a whole graphic for something that's not going to happen. That's
exactly.
Too.
Exactly. So I think, and people have to realize this too, Major League Soccer is a single entity league. They know about every move before it's officially announced because the league has to approve it. So it's totally plausible that the league they already know about this deal, right? Because they had to give Atlanta United the okay, which some people are upset about. So I believe this is real. I don't think it's fake. I think he will be a player. They, like you said, they wouldn't have just made the graphic for no reason. It's just a matter of when they'll announce it. Now, with this leak, does that speed up the announcement? I think there's a good chance it could.
Yeah, no, definitely go to his transfer mark real quick. Take a look at what his value is, because what type of money do you think Atlanta United, and Atlanta United has the money, right? So what type of money do you think they're going to be spending on bringing in Furuhashi?
Well, his transfer market value is 14 million euros.
It'd be crazy.
14 million euros. And yeah, that is crazy. That is really, and by the way, Transfer Market has a thing where they rank the possibility of, what the deal, like likelihood will go through. 71% they say and declining. Man, after that graphic, that's going to be like probably 99% tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, dude, 14 million. I mean, that would put him in probably top 5 most valuable players in Major League Soccer if he signs.
Right.
And he's 29 years old. He's a Japanese international, 22 goals, 22 appearances, 5 goals for the Japanese national team. He came to Celtic in 2021 for $5 million or 5 million euros, 5.4 million euros. So I will be very interested to see what they end up spending on him. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to. Now, if they pay 10 million for him, then that's going to make the Brandon Vasquez deal look even worse than it already does.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, we already know that the Celtic pipeline works, and especially for Atlanta, and especially in Liga MX, because Giamakis is killing it. So I'm excited for this transfer. This is definitely a Garth Lagerwey type of deal.
Yeah, it is. And Miranchuk is also the same age, 29 years old. Now, Furu Hashi. I'm gonna have to get that name. Yeah, Furu Hashi. I'm gonna have to get that name, the pronunciation down. He's 29. He'll be 30 this month, which is seeing that 95 and associate it with 30 kind of hurts, man. Especially for me and you, right?
Hey.
But not to get age ourselves, but so 30 years old. I mean, still a pretty hefty price tag. I mean, I'll be curious to see what he does. Giorgio Shakamakis, when he came to Atlanta United, let me look and see what he cost. I think they got a pretty good deal for him.
30 is the new 20. That's all I'm gonna say. All right.
Hopefully, I guess it just depends on what day of the week it is. So Giorgio Shakamakis is valued at 9 million euros. Plays for Cruz Azul. Obviously, they sold him this summer. So Atlanta only bought him for 4 million euros.
Yeah, that was good business. 100% good business.
And sold him for 9.3 million euros. So they flipped him for almost more than double what they paid for him. That is great business. Yeah. So Atlanta United, especially with Garth Lagerwey, is Mr. He's from the UK. He says Kyogo is a pretty decent player.
Yeah. No, I lived in Japan and there was a lot of hype around him when he was going to Celtic. That's for sure.
John James says Kyogo is a real good striker. So that's good. That is kind of Giorgio Shakamakis. Let me flip this back over real quick. Kyogo obviously is someone that should come in, start right away. And isn't it funny that Atlanta United used to build their team by spending a lot of money on South Americans? They're spending a lot of money on Europeans. So they're kind of doing it a different way.
It translates. Celtic translates. So you might as well go up the pipelines you already know work, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's it. I don't think there's maybe you'll join us again next week. We'll do another one.
Pulido went for almost 2 million. I want to say this. When I said Pulido was going to go for 2 million GAM last year, I was not that far off.
Yeah, but 2 million in GAM is way different than 2 million in just a transfer fee.
Very true, but I think they get actually 1.5 million in GAM next year for that.
Yeah, well, it changed. Yeah, definitely not bad business for Sporting Kansas City, because I think he was going to make like 4 million this year, so they get him off the books.
No, they save a lot of money getting him off the books.
Yeah, they shed a lot of money getting him off the books. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate Favi. Hopefully he'll join us again next week. It's always more fun to discuss these moves with another guest and obviously with you guys as well. And if you guys haven't, make sure you like this video down below. We're like 39 away from 100. So let's hit 100. Let's hit it tonight. Let's hit 100 on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also make sure you become a member of the channel. It helps me out. It helps put out the content. It gives some cool features like prioritizing comments. I'll read your comment if I see if you're a member of the channel. We can play FC 25. You can smoke me in it. We can do a Q&A. And there's a couple things that you guys get access to a little earlier than other people. So make sure there's a link down below. It's only 10 cents a day. Make sure you're a member of the channel if you're not already. And Favi, before I let you go, where can the people find you at?
You can find me at Fabian Renkel, or next week I'll make an appearance again. So thank you for having me on, Will. It's been a pleasure, like always.
Always, man. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.